You can support me by turning on notifications, subscribing to my channel, and liking the video. Waiting for your comments. Unraveling the Sky. How a moonlit field became ground zero for an alleged UFO landing has become a legend that refuses to fade. Late on a warm summer evening, with the moon hanging in a cloudless sky, something strange illuminated a modest, unremarkable plot of farmland just beyond the sleepy town of Evergrove. The story goes that an otherworldly craft descended in a silent, brilliant glow, watched by a handful of startled locals who ventured out to see the source of an impossible light. Even decades later, the incident remains carved into local memory, perpetuated by testimonies that insist it was no airplane, no meteor, and no simple reflection. Skeptics scoff that it's a tall tale spun by imaginative townsfolk, while believers cling to eyewitness reports and curious traces left in the grass. Over the years, the Moonlit Field Landing, as some call it, has drawn UFO investigators, journalists, and curious thrill seekers. Each approaches the site with wide eyes, searching for material proof that we aren't alone in the cosmos. It began with an ordinary Tuesday night. The date was July 17, 1978. Though some argue it might have been the following year, memories blur over time. The time was just after midnight, with the moon close to full, bathing the countryside in a silver glow. Farmer John Attaway, the first main witness, was tending to an ailing horse in his barn. He later recalled hearing an odd humming sound that gradually rose in pitch. Concerned, he walked outside, expecting to see a plane or perhaps a helicopter. Instead, he saw a shimmering orb of light descending over the next field. At first, he thought it was a reflection in his tired eyes, but then the orb glowed brighter, lighting the area almost like day. The horse reared back, spooked, as Attaway stared in shock. Not far away, a teenage girl named Marisol Cruz was sitting on her bedroom windowsill, listening to music and enjoying the mild night. She glimpsed the same glow from a distance, describing it as like a cluster of electric fireflies that suddenly expanded into a disk. She briefly considered it might be fireworks, but no bangs followed, only a soft, persistent hum. Intrigued and uneasy, she nudged her half-asleep mother. Both peered out the window, saw the light descend, and watched as it vanished behind a hedgerow. The family dog began barking furiously, refusing to calm down for hours. By morning, Marisol would be one of the voices insisting that an aircraft of unknown origin had touched down. Another account comes from a passing truck driver, Manuel Ortega, who claims to have witnessed a strange glow in the sky as he navigated a nearby road. The luminous object, he said, hovered in place for a few seconds before dropping out of view behind the tree line. Ortega's statements never varied, even after repeated interviews. He dismissed the idea that it was any conventional plane or weather balloon. Planes don't move like that, he insisted, and balloons don't give off that kind of glow. The hush of the night, the sudden intensity of the light, and the swift descent were unlike anything in his decades of driving. Ortega left town the following day, but his testimony circulated among locals, lending more credence to the story. By dawn, a handful of curious residents gathered at the field. They found the grass flattened in a circular pattern, roughly 30 feet in diameter, with the stems bent at odd angles. Some described a faint burnt smell, reminiscent of singed wiring. Attaway's horse refused to go near the spot, whinnying in distress. Certain neighbors reported their electronics acting up that morning, flickering lights, static in radios, though none could confirm a direct link to the event. A few wanted to call the authorities, but the local sheriff arrived first, skeptical. He chalked the circle up to kids pulling a prank. Only after hearing multiple witnesses describe the luminous orb did he grudgingly agree to file a report. That official report, typed up on a single sheet of paper, acknowledges an unusual circular mark and reports of unidentified lights, but draws no firm conclusion. The incident might have faded into rural myth if not for two developments. First, the arrival of a civilian UFO research group from a nearby city. Second, the subsequent swirl of media interest, including a local paper that coined the term Moonlit Field Landing. The UFO group spent days examining soil samples, claiming a slight radiation spike near the circle's center, though subsequent tests by another lab found no abnormality. They interviewed every witness they could find, gathering stories about the humming noise, the brilliant glow, the flattened grass. Their final statement declared the case highly suggestive of a genuine UFO encounter. Though critics argued that no definitive proof was produced, no fragments of metal or advanced technology. Still, the press latched on to the notion that this sleepy farmland might have been ground zero for an alien landing. Debate raged among townsfolk. Some insisted it was simply a helicopter or small private aircraft needing an emergency landing. Perhaps it scalded the grass upon takeoff. But local pilots pointed out that a conventional helicopter would have been heard distinctly, its rotor noise unmistakable, and it wouldn't likely leave such an even, circular imprint. Others proposed a meteor or ball lightning phenomenon, though meteor experts found that scenario improbable. Ball lightning, while real, rarely flattens vegetation or maintains a stable hover. Among more conspiratorial circles, rumors emerged that government agents visited the field discreetly. A few neighbors claimed to see black cars with tinted windows cruising down Attaway's Road late at night, or strangers wearing suits scanning the area with strange instruments. Some insisted they glimpsed men retrieving samples from the circle, urging onlookers to keep quiet. No official records corroborate these tales, but they added a layer of mystique, hinting at possible cover-ups or hush orders from higher authorities. If that's true, the question remains, what might they have found? Attempts to replicate the circle by flattening grass with boards or machinery never matched the original's neat swirl or the slightly scorched edges. And as the days wore on, curiosity faded. People had farms to tend, jobs to do. The circle eventually regrew, and only a faint discoloration remained in the grass for a season. The Moonlit Field Landing slid into local lore, passed down in dinner table conversations, retold at barbecues, or in high school projects about hometown mysteries. But interest periodically flared up again. For instance, in 1985, a radio host did a special episode on America's most mysterious landing sites, featuring Evergrove's event. Newcomers flocked in, snapping photos of the field and interviewing older residents. Then in 1999, a wave of UFO sightings in nearby counties sparked renewed talk of the old landing. Once more, visitors poured in, seeking hidden truths. The landowner by that time was tired of it, putting up a sign that read "No trespassing, no aliens found here." Even so, the legend never fully died. Skeptics remain unconvinced. They argue that eyewitness recollections from decades ago can't be trusted. They note the lack of physical evidence, no actual craft or fragments. They question whether mass hysteria, fueled by stories like Roswell, shaped how witnesses interpreted a mundane light in the sky. They highlight the possibility of a small storm or a rare atmospheric plasma event that flattened the field's grass in a swirl. Still, none of these explanations satisfy those who recall the vivid intensity of that night's light, or the strange humming that multiple witnesses described. The interplay of these conflicting narratives keeps the event alive, perpetually hovering at the boundary between cosmic visitation and rural myth. Occasionally, travelers arrive in Evergrove, scouring the library for archived newspaper clippings or searching for the fabled circle in the field. Some write blog posts or shoot amateur documentaries, capturing the moonlit farmland or interviewing locals who still recall the night's eerie glow. The details might vary in minor ways. Some recall hearing a metallic clang, as if from a door opening. Others claim the air smelled ionized, but the core story remains consistent. A radiant orb or disk descending silently, pausing near ground level, then lifting back into the sky and vanishing at remarkable speed. The hush afterward lingered in the fields, as though nature itself was stunned. What are the original witnesses? Attaway, Cruz Ortega, and others. Over the years, some moved away, some passed on, yet a handful remain, unwavering in their convictions. They resent being labeled crackpots, pointing out that they never sought attention. They simply reported what they saw. One older Attaway nephew, who says his uncle stuck by his story until his final days, notes that Attaway refused to go out in the fields at night ever again. Cruz, in a 2014 interview, reiterated the memory of that impossible light, insisting she saw no signs of trickery or illusions. She explained that she had felt a strange calm and awe, rather than fear, as if glimpsing something benignly curious about human life. And that brings us to the heart of the mystery. If this truly was some advanced craft, why appear in a remote farmland on that specific summer midnight? Could it have malfunctioned, searching for a place to land? Or was it a deliberate study of rural humanity, a fleeting cosmic rendezvous that left no official record? The question endures, as intangible as the streak of silver that once shot across the sky. Meanwhile, others propose simpler scenarios. A government test drone or prototype aircraft, perhaps from a nearby Air Force facility, that accidentally trespassed over farmland. It might have left quickly upon noticing the onlookers. The official silence could be a standard military tactic. But believers point out that no known technology in 1978 produced such a silent hover and abrupt departure, leaving a perfectly swirled mark. Perhaps we'll never have a final resolution. For many in Evergrove, the event stands as a testament to how even the most ordinary place, a simple moonlit field, can become a focal point for cosmic possibilities. A single night's luminous visitor shattered the presumption that the sky above was empty of mystery. Skeptics, in turn, see it as an instructive lesson on how local folklore shapes and reshapes itself, weaving mild truths with grand embellishments until a myth forms. The field remains, its grass regrown, but the story lingers, whispered in the hush of starlit evenings when the moon casts its glow across the countryside. Years later, the Moonlit Field Landing occasionally surfaces in UFO documentaries or amateur YouTube series titled Unraveling the Sky. They show drone footage of a peaceful farmland, interviews with local historians, and reenactments with glowing orbs superimposed. Some watchers roll their eyes, others are transfixed. The tension between doubt and wonder propels the legend forward. In a realm where official NASA disclaimers and government secrets often collide, sometimes the subtlest moments spark our greatest fascination. A quiet farmland, a wide silver moon, an inexplicable glow. These elements converge to birth a tale that enthralls us, urging us to peer upward and wonder who else might share the cosmos with us. So the story endures. How a moonlit field became ground zero for an alleged UFO landing. If you ever find yourself in Evergrove on a balmy summer night, listen closely. Some say, if the moon is bright enough and the wind is just right, you may sense a hush in the air, as though nature collectively anticipates a return of that silent craft from the stars. Or perhaps you'll dismiss it as collective imagination, fed by decades of retelling. Regardless, the field's legacy as a site of cosmic rumor and lingering questions remains. Whether truth or tall tale, it reminds us that we still live in a universe brimming with enigmas, waiting to be unraveled. And sometimes, just sometimes, the sky peels back a curtain to let us glimpse beyond our ordinary horizons, leaving footprints of wonder in the grass below.